AECI services the mining and manufacturing sectors with chemicals and explosives and was formed by the merger of Kynoch and Cape X in 1924. Its major facility is in Modderfontein in Johannesburg. It has a market cap of 9.8 billion rand, a PE of 13.6 and a dividend yield of 3.4%. AECI, mining explosives. One would immediately assume with the mining sector in the doldrums right now, given the labour unrest, etc., 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 that AECI would have taken a battering, but it's holding up relatively well.
Yeah, remember the mining explosives thing is different markets for different commodities and for different applications. Deep level mines are one thing, they need a specific kind of explosive which you push into the holes after you've drilled them. Open cast mining again is a different thing. There's been quite a lot of mining expansion around Africa, and kind of explosives are one of those things that don't travel all that well. There's a tendency to prefer to manufacture it locally. Look, they have done okay of late. They've got that land asset, we've spoken about this before, around those facilities you mentioned down in the Cape and then also here at Modderfontein. At some point they decided they didn't need as much land because they weren't doing as much manufacturing. So that's where that whole Greenstone Mall development comes from the Heartland property thing. But that's very cyclical. We know what property development's like. It kind of comes and goes. But it's kind of there or thereabouts, one of the smaller groups going through a management change.
So don't link, if I'm hearing you correctly, don't link AECI's fortunes directly to the mining industry and make that exact correlation.
I don't know if I'd agree entirely with that because...
Oh, I like that.
Well, it's just, so AECI, they're predominantly underground mining, so deep level mining, and they supply the explosives into that, and that's platinum, that's platinum, that's
the
gold.
mining industry has been hardest hit.
And I mean, we know that Anglo-Plat has been offline for 2 months, and so I mean, AECI has already come out with a profit warning for the December earnings. So I mean, already in early November, they're saying, listen guys, we know we're well below 20% compared to what we did the previously. So I'm actually surprised. When I was looking at it today, I was surprised when I saw that the share price hasn't come off more. But I mean, I think that's also the underpin. It's got those property assets. Their recent valuations put it at 2.5 billion rand, the property assets. That's not going to come in 1 year. It's going to come over 10, 15 years as they develop it.
Are you analysing the same company here?
Yeah, now I did hear that ATM bombings were down sharply as well, and that's a problem for AECI because the same explosives that get used for the underground platinum mines typically get used for blowing up the ones in the mall. They attach it and then try and remove.
This is when we start ignoring him. Jonathan, just don't take anything that he says seriously from this point on.
But remember, they've also got other assets. They've got Dulux and they've got a whole lot of other businesses which they acquired. All of these guys have businesses that manufacture things like preservatives, like the raw materials which get used by the guys that do extrusions and other plastics products and so on. So they do have quite nicely diversified businesses. But again, what Jonathan was saying much earlier, our local manufacturing industry has been under pressure. So some of the things like SA nylon spinners, they just shut it down there in the Cape. But
it's cyclical. Maybe this is the time to pick it up in the hope that we're going to see a recovery in all of those sectors that it's exposed to.
Yeah, look, I mean, manufacturing...
It's not very convincing.
Yeah, no, look, not a convincing argument. I mean, manufacturing, we know in South Africa is really struggling. Like I said, with wage inflation and with electricity prices coming through, it's really quite a concern for us because there are a lot of jobs at stake. So, I mean, maybe with the rand weakening, it'll help the manufacturers. I mean, certainly would have helped a little bit, but I think we need to see a lot more for them to do.
Hot or not, Paul, on AECI?
No, not particularly. I prefer Cecil.
Jonathan, hot or not, AECI?
I'm also not hot on AECI. I was surprised it hasn't come back more than what it has.
Double not hot.